So the lineup will be Heinen, Tim Mikametz, Niklas Krens, Julia Ponkratz. Then we'll have Maximilian Krupper. Looks like Lukas Thompson will not be taking any part in the race. Then Henson rounding out the top 6 positions. And then we have Vajinak, Horstmann, Hartmann, Trusheim, Bock, Tham, Petropoulos, Saar, Heid, Müller, Lieder, and Max Bosse is a non-starter. So already we're down to what is going to be 17 competitors. But let's just see what happens. They go into the tram lines for one final time in 2019. We go lights out. They're at full racing speed, and it's nearly 3 abreast around at the bottom part of the top 10, heading into turn 1 for the first time. So Jan Heinen now starting to try and get a breakaway initially from Tim Mikametz and Niklas Krens, who are hot on the back bumpers of the back bumper of the 312. And they've just gone past the forlorn cart of Lukas Thompson in 332, who had a mechanical issue even just before we got the formation and the rolling start underway, as Niklas Krens really now starting to initially hustle around the back bumper of Tim Mikametz. Both running on the same chassis, look to be in the same team as well. So, one rule of racing is don't take out your teammate, and it is side by side between the pair of them, heading through into turn 2, and it's very, very wide from Niklas Krens, who was on the outside as Tim Mikametz was back up the inside of the position, as we've got a spinner at the back end of the field at turn 2. Didn't really catch who that was. I'll find out momentarily, but someone was spinning 180 degrees pointing up towards what was turn 1 rather than pointing their way towards turn 3. Leaders now coming through, and at the minute Niklas Krens is no longer in 3rd place. He's now down in 4th position, as Jan Heinen now continues to lead Tim Mikametz, and then it's the 321 of Maximilian Krupper who takes 3rd position from the 341. Julia Ponkratz now in 5th place ahead of Linus Henson. Vajinak in the 329 in 7th place ahead of Lukas Hartmann, Lukas Horstmann, and Paul Trusheim rounding out the top 10. Fabian Bock, who had that nasty hit in the wall in the first race a bit earlier on today, is up now to P11 ahead of Maximilian Saar, with Vivian Michel Heid rounding out the top 13, with Maxim Lieder and Anna-Sophia Tham rounding out the top 15. As Niklas Krens looks to be back past Maximilian Krupper, as Julia Ponkratz now goes behind Linus Henson, who now takes 5th position. But Krupper trying to go up the inside of Krens once again into turn 2. But Krens very wise to that, gets the switchback, pulls alongside, as Ponkratz, I think, looked to be alongside, side by side with Linus Henson. It's getting very dicey towards turn 4. Oh my goodness me. Linus Henson gets past Niklas Krens, it looked like. So Krupper, Henson and Krens, with Ponkratz and Vajinak rounding out the top 7 positions. But the battle at the front is now clearly on, as Tim Mikametz wants to make amends for this morning, as he now is right on the back bumper, sort of darting and weaving behind Jan Heinen going into turn number 2. But Heinen has the line, whereas Tim Mikametz still keeps on the back bumper of the 312 and takes the lead through turn 4. Mikametz struck whilst the iron was hot, neatly took the position off of the 312, now takes the lead with just over 10 minutes and 20 seconds to go, plus an additional lap in this race. And he's trying to pull a gap, and the gap is probably about a couple of kart lengths. So at the moment, there have been some changes. So Linus Henson now gets past Maximilian Krupper for P3, as Jan Heinen still keeping in striking distance of the number 333 of Tim Mikametz, running on the, looks to be the Kart Republic chassis there. as there's one driver definitely losing an absolute handful of places right down the order. So no positional changes that I can tell of thus far, but we'll find out very shortly as we're about to complete lap number 6 of the National Senior division. As Linus Henson staying in third place, looking a bit lonely, as there has been a change because Maximilian Krupper has dropped all the way down to 12th position. So Krupper, unfortunately, has come a cropper on the last few corners, or the last couple of laps, down from what was originally P3 at some point. So now we have drivers definitely doing their level best as we got 8 minutes and 50 seconds to go on the clock here in the penultimate race of the season here at Kerpen. And at the moment, Tim Mika-Metz is about a car length ahead of Jan Heinen in the 312 as they cross the line to start lap number 8. The gap between them just exactly a quarter of a second. Linus Henson a little bit further adrift to the tune of about 3.7 seconds. But then you look back to Julia Ponkratz, Niklas Krenz, Lukas Hartmann. That is the roundup of the top 6. So those three are battling over 4th position, with Ponkratz definitely having the advantage. But Julia's going to have to watch out for the likes of Niklas Krenz, Lukas Hartmann. Also, just keep an eye on Fabian Bock, running in 7th place now ahead of Lukas Horsmann. And with Vagenac and also Saar rounding out the top 10 ahead of Paul Trussheim in 11th position. So Tim Mika-Metz now has a lead of 0.4 of a second over Jan Heinen. As they go through turn 2, now they sweep across the left-hand side to the left-hander at turn 3. As that was a bit of a difficult wide line there taken by Niklas Krenz. I think just probably overstepped the boundaries of adhesion and nearly let Lukas Hartmann get through there for what is 5th position on the road. That's going to allow Julia Ponkratz to start to get a bit of a breakaway as the two leaders come down into the Schumacher chicane, as we now will very shortly hit half-time on the timer of 14 minutes elapsing. So halfway through, halfway to go once more. So the running order, as it looks like Petropoulos in the 301, I think might have just called it a day a couple of laps ago on lap number 7. So at the minute, Tim Mika-Metz leads from Jan Heinen, Linus Henson, Julia Ponkratz, Niklas Krenz, Lukas Hartmann, Fabian Bock, Lukas Horsmann, Lukas Vagenac, Maximilian Saar, Maximilian Krupper, Paul Trussheim, Maxim Lieder, Vivian Michel Heid, Anna-Sophia Tham, with Nick Noel Müller rounding out the 16 that are still circulating. So Max Boss, unfortunately, was a non-starter. Lucas Thompson, we lost on just the formation lap. And Andrei Petropoulos in the 301 retired on lap number 7. So a few more battles waging on all the way up and down the field, as Niklas Krenz still has Lukas Hartmann for company, as Julia Ponkratz is closing and is to within 3.5 of a second of Linus Henson. So Henson under threat now for what is 3rd place, with just over 5.5 minutes remaining. So Ponkratz now has time on her side too. She takes a glance over the left shoulder to see where Niklas Krenz is, and he's about 8 to 10 kart lengths behind. So it gives Ponkratz the sign that is required to say, right, I've got a chance, I'm going to go for it. Linus Henson, watch out, as there's been a move up the inside by Maximilian Krupper, up the inside of Maximilian Saar, I believe, for 10th position. And here's the battle right down at the back end of the field. That is the 344 and the 323 of Vivian Michel Heid and Anna-Sophia Tham that are battling over 14th place on the road, and they are still giving us a great entertaining battle irrespective of where they are on the circuit thus far. As Tim Mika-Metz and Jan Heinen are getting a bit closer, probably a bit too close for comfort for Tim Mika Metz. The gap was just over 7 tenths. It's been absolutely decimated to 0.231 of a second. And a little bit further down the order, Fabian Box dropped down to 8th behind Lukas Horstmann, who's now got 7th in the pocket. But there's still 4.5 minutes still to go, plus an additional lap. And there's a 4-way scrabble a little bit further down the order behind Fabian Bock, which looks to be led by Maximilian Krupper, who is in front of Maximilian Saar, Paul Trussheim, Lukas Warzinak. As the two leaders, Tim Mika Metz and Jan Heinen, come round to complete lap number 13 with about 4 minutes on the clock, plus an additional lap. And there has been another driver that's opted to pull it into the pits and call it a day. That unfortunately is the 302 of Nignol Müller, who is running in 16th position. Looks to have parked it in the pit lane as there's more battles going up and down the order. Paul Trussheim definitely in the wars and looks to have been overtaken by, I think, Maximilian Saar and also Warzinak. Well, Warzinak, I think, has just tried to go up the inside of him and has got past, so that means that Trussheim's outside of the top 10. So 3 minutes and 13 seconds. The leaders come across the line once again. They were over 0.2 of a second apart. It's just over 0.2 of a second, so the gap now has been slightly closed up by 31 thousandths of a second as there looks to be a move. That could be Ponkratz. It is up the inside of Linus Henson to take third through the exit of turn number 2. Great work by Julia Ponkratz on the 307. Now up into P3 and now has to try and either do one or two things. Break away from Linus Henson or defend right up until the checkered flag. But it's been great, consistent work from Julia Ponkratz to get herself up into P3 on that particular occasion. Now I'm just keeping an eye on the gap between second and third. Last time around it was 5.2 seconds. And now with Ponkratz it's now gone up to 5.6. But now Ponkratz has an opportunity to move forward. But that also depends on what Linus Henson does in the next 2 minutes, plus an additional lap, because now closing up on them is the 341 of Niklas Krenz, and just behind them are the two Lukases, Lukas Hartmann and Lukas Horstmann. So it's going to be a battle of 5-way scrap right up until the end between 3rd to 7th position. As there is the foreboding and formidable figure of Niklas Krenz behind Linus Henson. And there is Maximilian Krupper as, oh, that's sideways. That's sideways for both the leaders. I don't believe this. If I was speechless now, I'm definitely speechless. There are carts going everywhere. Is there rain falling at turn 2? Is there rain falling at turn 2? Because everyone has gone off of the track. Well, the two leaders did. Ponkratz and Linus Henson were there. Has this changed what's been a dramatic finale for the senior national division? So we got just under 60 seconds plus an additional lap. Who is leading this race? It is Tim Mika Metz, but how close is Julia Ponkratz? She goes off at the left-hand approach and goes grass tracking. Is there rain falling? I'm not too sure, but if turn 2 has started to cause a problem, has there been fluid leaks on the track? Is it rain or is it fluid? I'm not sure, but the drivers were going, there is slippery surface flags coming out as I thought it might be. And there is rain falling. The rain has caused havoc. So Julia Ponkratz could have actually had a chance even at the victory there if Tim Mika Metz and both Jan Heinen were in the gravel off of turn 2. But she went dirt tracking off of the left-hand approach to the Schumacher chicane. And now the time has pretty much expired. That's it. 14 minutes are up. We're on the penultimate lap of the race. There are slippery surface flags all out on the circuit. The drivers are on slick tyres. It is now just about guiding it home. So Tim Mika-Metz wrestling with the steering wheel, as is Jan Heinen. And then just behind is Niklas Grains, who's doing a Tokyo drift through the left-hand approach to the Schumacher chicane. Julia Bonkratz still in now in 6th position, as again someone else goes dirt tracking. This time it's Maximilian Krupper. So the last, I think they're probably all going to be relieved. Thank goodness we've got the last lap board out. But drama in what has been an interesting final race of the season, as drivers now just tippy-toeing around the circuit. It's not about a case of risking it. They just want to get home. They just want to get to the end of the race. And very shortly, I should see the triple three of Tim Mika-Metz making his way down the back straightaway. And here comes a very, very gingerly throttle pushing Tim Mika-Metz, who nearly ended up in the kitty litter off of the dirt, as did Jan Heinen, but he goes through the Schumacher chicane for what is the final time of the season for the National Senior Championship. He's going to take the checkered flag. I'm sure he's going to be relieved to see that. Niklas Grains, it's a 1-2 for the team with the 341. Jan Heinen having dramas at the end of it, as several drivers have got off the circuit on the final corner coming out of the Schumacher chicane. So Tim Mika-Metz and Niklas Grains, that's a 1-2. Lukas Hartmann takes 3rd place. Jan Heinen all the way down the order. Jan Heinen is only just coming through the Schumacher chicane and has dropped all the way down. I think that is pretty much last after that excursion off of turn number 2. So Tim Mika-Metz takes a dramatic season finale for the Senior Nationals the classification for the RMC Club Sport finale here in Kerpen by 3.963 seconds, as both he and also Jan Heinen went off at turn 2 on the last lap of the race. And the rain is now coming. I'm sure they're all going to be glad that they thought, right, I hope it's going to go well. So the finishing order is Tim Mika-Metz, Niklas Grains, Lukas Hartmann, Linus Hensen, Julia Bonkratz, Maximilian Krupper, Lukas Hortmann, Fabian Bock recovering to 9th, Varjanak Trussheim, Maximilian Saar, Maxim Lieder, Vivian Michel Heid, Anna Sophia Tham, and Jan Heinen rounding out the 15 that finished, with Max Bossen on start, Nick Noel Müller finishing with 8 laps to go, Andrei Petropoulos after finishing on lap 7, with Lucas Thompson only making it as far as halfway through the formation lap. And that's it for Senior National for 2019. What an exciting finale we had here in Kerpen. So we come to the last race of the meeting here at the final round of the 2019 Rotax Max Challenge Club Sport season here in Kaupen. And to close out the action is DD2 and DD2 Masters. The grid is as follows. On the front row, it's the brothers Breitenbach with Florian on pole position on the 405 with the 422 of Oliver alongside. Lawrence Seyfried in the 439 will have Bennett Müller on the 465 alongside for company on row 2. Mark Bartels starts in the 410 in 5th position. Alongside will be the 499 of Jan Samer. Then we have Thomas Schumacher in the 401 and Andreas Schindler, who will again, for the second race in succession, start from pole position and will be on the outside of row number 4 with Leonard Possi in the 441 and Karl Lukaszewski in the 406, rounding out the top 10. Silvio Pipohato is not going to be starting from 13th position, so we will have 24 drivers competing in this one. So behind Lukaszewski will be Nico Gnad in the 466, the 420 of Jonas Wolscheid, the 456 of Kai Honne, the 552 of Sascha Frankenbusch, the 403 of Denny Schalau, the 461 of Philipp Wolfken, the 464 of Stefan Grabau, the 477 of David Haas, the 440 of Florian Popp, the 558 of Martin Berger, the 575 of Thomas Donsol, with Fabio Cigignola in the 409, Jan Müller in the 459, and Maximilian Dombos rounding out the 24 drivers. So 14 minutes now set on the clock, plus one additional lap here in Kaupen to close out the 2019 season. A quick nod of acknowledgement from Florian to Oliver there on the front row with the grid, because they want to get a textbook start, and if they can make it not only a brotherly 1-2 but a team 1-2 this afternoon to close out the season, it could be a good sign ahead of next year. But it looks like we're going to have another rolling start formation lap now. So the drivers now have to resettle, refocus, control out and delete, if you will, before they get the 14-minute race plus one additional lap underway here for the final time of the season. So the top 10, it's Florian and Oliver Breitenbach on the front row. Then it's Seyfried and Müller, Bartels, Samer, Schumacher, Schindler, Possi and Lukaszewski. That's the top 10 as they go through the... there's quite a lot of nice German forestry around here, and I thought we had it good in England. But definitely very nice here in Kaupen. Lovely to be here for the first time, one of multiple new circuits I've been at this season. With DD2 and DD2 Masters normally quite competitive as always, and I don't expect anything less from those here. So now the two Breitenbach brothers will have to get everything line astern, as Lawrence Seyfried definitely looks like he is ready to go racing for one final time. But it's just about how... Now, the thing is that my biggest concern here is that everyone is now going to have to rush around like idiots to get towards the back of the grid. Now, are we going to get... I don't know. I don't think... No, that's a false start. That was clearly a false start. So it needs to be third time's the charm here. As we've got the 401 of Thomas Schumacher running a bit slowly there, coming across the start-finish line. So we had Buperato as the first driver to not start. And before we get going racing, could Thomas Schumacher also be one that does not start the race, or can he get up towards the back part of the grid? So now they are getting a stern warning of, please let us get the grid settled. Now it's getting a bit more compact. Now it looks a bit more even. The anticipation builds of the final race of the season through the Schumacher chicane. Come the DD2 and the DD2 Masters field round the final corner. Andreas Matis saying to them, please slow down before you go racing. And we've already had a problem in the back part of the field. And we've gone lights out for the final time in the season. And the driver, that looks to be possibly Thomas Schumacher, that has not got going. Had to pull over to one side of the... and that is Thomas Schumacher. So just basically crawling as and pulls off to the circuit on the right-hand side on the approach to the start-finish line. As now there has been a slight change, as it looks like Marc Bartels in the initial foray has got past Laurens Seyfried for third place. And it is 7 karts at the front that are starting to pull away. And one of them is actually a DD2 Masters drivers. Nice work by Andreas Schindler at the back part of that 7-kart melee. And Schindler's actually going for P6 overall. He doesn't want to just be the DD2 Masters class winner. He's going up the inside of Jan Zemer, I think. Going into turn 2, and he's made the move. That's a brazen one from Andreas Schindler. Nice work there. So at the moment, it is. Now it looks like Marc Bartels has just lost out to Bennett Müller in the 465. As Laurens Seyfried, I think now has just got back into P3 behind the two Breitenbachs at the moment, who are now starting to pull away. And now it's got to be a case of the 439 and also now the 465 of Bennett Müller that need to start working together. The two brothers at the front will have to start doing so. And there's a bit more positional changes as Marc Bartels drops to 7th and is coming under pressure from Jonas Wolscheid in the 420. As now looks like the moves happen for third place, as Laurens Seyfried has now been overtaken by Bennett Müller through turn 2. And again, Seyfried, I think, has lost another position, maybe even make that 2. As that's 11 minutes and 54 still to go on the clock, plus an additional lap. And it's Florian and Oliver Breitenbach that are leading, and they have a huge gap. The gap last time was 1.865 seconds between second and third place. That looks to have possibly extended past 2 seconds at the very, very least, maybe even make that 2.5 seconds. Yeah, 2.355 between Oliver Breitenbach and Bennett Müller at second and third place. Andreas Schindler all the way now up into 4th place. Jan Zemer is ahead of Jonas Wolscheid and Laurens Seyfried, who rounds out the top 7. Lukaszewski now rounds out the top 8 ahead of Leonard Poss and also Marc Bartels. So Bartels all the way down into the 10th position there. But there's still going to be time for drivers to make inroads forwards. And there has been a 10-second penalty. Jan Zemer has just got that thrown in his general direction. That is a 10-second penalty for a full stop, incorrect starting position. So that is going to drop Jan Zemer way down the order. So he's currently 4.1 seconds off the leader. That's going to put him out of the top 15 at the very least. As Laurens Seyfried coming under pressure still again. And this is by the likes of Nico Gnad, who I think have just gone up the inside for 9th place. And he's going side by side with Kai Honne. And it looks like Seyfried just wanted to keep out of trouble, keep his nose clean. But the Breitenbachs were exactly 0.3 of a second adrift of each other. But Jan Zemer is going to try and get past Andreas Schindler. But now the thing is that Jan is going to have to try and see how far up the road. If he can make a 10-second gap appear over the next 10 or so minutes, he's got a chance of keeping his position. But if he keeps on battling, he's just gone up the inside of Andreas Schindler there for P4 on the road. And that is going to drop him still round to about 13th place if the race was to finish as it stands right now. So the Breitenbachs putting on a little bit of a display on the final race of the season with 9 minutes and 22 seconds plus an additional lap to go. They were 0.269 of a second adrift of each other. It's gone to 3.5 tenths. Bennett Müller rounds out the top three. Andreas Schindler will be now in 5th place ahead of Jan Samer, who has got a 10-second incorrect starting position penalty. Jonas Wolscheid, Karl Lukaszewski, Leonard Boss, Nico Gnad, Kai Horner now round out the top 10. Lawrence Seyfried starting from P3, now in 11th position. Stefan Grabau, Sascha Frankenbusch, Maximilian Dombos, and also Jan Müller round out the top 15. And out of the top 15, I spot 2 DD2 Masters drivers, with Andreas Schindler up into P5, leading the class overall, with Sascha Frankenbusch all the way down in P13 as the two brothers Breidenbach go across the line there just under 0.4 of a second apart, with 8 minutes and 20 seconds still to go here in Kerpen, plus an additional lap of the season, as they go through the left at turn 4, which puts them onto the double S's. And I don't think Florian's going to have it all quite his own way, because Oliver looks a bit more purchased through the S's. They've just come through the back straight into the left-hand approach through the Schumacher chicane, which is pretty much full throttle before hitting a very, very late braking zone. They go across the line once again. Gap now just under 3 tenths. And it's good to see that they didn't decide to opt on the same race helmet colour scheme, because the only way that you'd be able to pick them out would be their race numbers. So Florian continues to lead. So Florian Breitenbach, Oliver Breitenbach, Bennett Müller, Jan Samer, Andreas Schindler still leading DD2 Masters in 5th position. Wolscheid, Lukaszewski, Posse, Gnad, Horne, Grabau, Dornbos. Now I've just noticed that Lawrence Seyfried is running in 18th. Has he got a problem in the final race of the season? Frankenbusch, Müller and Haas round out the top 15 ahead of Schalau. Sitignola up to 17th position ahead of Lawrence Seyfried. Florian Bopp and Thomas Donsol round out the top 20 ahead of Mark Bartels, who's dropped all the way out of contention and is a lap off of the leaders. Well, he's down in 21st position ahead of the 558 of DD2 Masters driver Martin Berger, with Philipp Wolfken being the last of the 23 drivers still circulating, with Thomas Schumacher unfortunately retiring just before the start, as we've got a bit of argy-bargy down at turn number 2, and it's nearly 3 abreast going through the left-hander at turn 3. So what is that all about? Oh, someone goes bumping over the grass and grass tracking, but luckily enough kept the foot fully planted to the floor, throttle down to the chassis plate. So whoever did that, bravo, nice work there. As there is someone in the form of the 461, that is Philipp Wolfken, just letting the field go past and run his own race, as we've got just over 5 3/4 minutes plus an additional lap of the season remaining. So Florian Breitenbach and Oliver Breitenbach just continue the running in formation at the moment. Just keeping an eye on what is happening with the drivers behind, because it looks like Mark Bartels and Martin Berger. Well, Martin Berger has now gone up into 21st position. So has Mark Bartels possibly parked it? Not too sure. Or just letting back marker traffic come through, which will include the 2 leaders who've just gone through turn number 4. And there have been some other changes. Wolscheid now past Andreas Schindler for 6th position. Don't forget about the 10-second penalty that has been given to Jan Samer in the 499. And he's 6.6 seconds off of the leader. And with the penalty, that will put him, provisionally speaking, at around about 10th position. So he's doing his best, is Jan, to try and move forward. So still a bit of time left to go in the race, as there are definitely some drivers trying to fight for a bit of pride and obviously try and fight for some sort of position, as we've got Jan Samer being closed down in on by Jonas Volscheid in the 420. As the two leaders now come through the Schumacher chicane with around 4 minutes remaining. And you can just see how quick these carts are through this particular side of things, as Volscheid closing on Samer for the position. That's for fourth on the road. This could possibly drop Jan Samer out of the top 10. But it just depends on how quickly Volscheid gets past the 499. So they go through turn number 4. A little bit of a sideways drift from Samer there, with Volscheid keeping it nice and planted, straight and true through the corner, keeping the optimum racing line. As it looks like we also have Mark Bartels as a confirmed retirement. 4 laps to go, so on lap number 9, lap 10 of the race, Mark Bartels unfortunately retired. And it looks like we've also got the 477 of David Haas as we go into the last 180 seconds, plus an additional lap of the season here at Kerpen for the 2019 Rotax Max Challenge Club Sport season. So blue flags being employed whenever it is possible. But the battle still is on for what is P4 on the road. Figuratively speaking, literally speaking, it means that Jonas Volscheid wants that P4. And just ahead, they've got a back marker. So if Samer gets compromised, then Volscheid will pounce. But it's not quite happening just yet for the 420. Just got to bide the time there. And wait for when Samer makes a mistake and goes side by side with the 499 across the start-finish line. Through into turn 1, goes towards the inside. And can't quite go through that time. Maybe on the next lap, it could happen for the 420. So, and we've also had Lawrence Seyfried retire as well. So Seyfried in the 439 from RS Competition, calling it a day with around about 12 laps completed. As the Breitenbachs now are just, I think, just cruising a bit more, because now they've got a bit of a substantial gap. Well, Florian Breitenbach back to Oliver has got a gap now. It was just under 4.5 tenths. It is now 1.3 seconds nigh on. Bennett Müller has been a bit lonely in third place on the 465, who's now getting past the 440 of Florian Bopp in 17th position. Jan Samer is still fending off Jonas Volscheid in the 420 as they go through the left-hander at turn number 4. With Andreas Schindler still doing great guns in 6th position. We go into the last 60 seconds of the season, plus an additional lap. So Florian and then Oliver Breitenbach definitely make sure that they are... Now, I'm seeing something very interesting here. Not to put the cat amongst the proverbial pigeons, but Oliver Breitenbach has just had a 47.4 second lap. And then of all drivers to close up by 1.2 seconds is the driver in third, Bennett Müller. So Müller is on a fly, did a 46.231, whereas Oliver Breitenbach did a 47.471. As backmarker is getting out of the way of the dueling pair that is Jan Samer and Jonas Volscheid. And that's the 499 and the 420, who are line astern, coming through the left-hand approach as the timer is literally about to click away now. That's it. 14 minutes are up. And with a couple of seconds to spare, Florian Breitenbach crossed the start-finish line. Now, my question is, what has happened to Oliver Breitenbach? Has he had a problem? Has he had a problem? Because he is not moving anywhere on the timing. He's on the side of the circuit before the left-hand approach, on the other side of what would be turn 1. So a breakdown for Oliver Breitenbach on the on the penultimate lap of the season. Scuppers a brotherly 1-2. as this time around Florian Breitenbach comes through the Schumacher chicane for the penultimate time. He gets the final lap board, and it's not just the final lap board of the race, it's the final lap board of the season, with Bennett Müller just trying to see if he can get into the gap between himself. And now the battle between Volscheid and Sammer is now for P3, but Sammer will drop down by an additional 10 seconds as they go nearly banging wheels into turn 3. Do Sammer and Volscheid. So Volscheid, I think, just really doesn't need to force the issue, because that could take the pair of them out, and they both won't want that at the end of the season. But through the left-hand approach to the Schumacher chicane for the final time, flies through Florian Breitenbach. The checkered flag is being prepared, and the 4:05 wins the final race of the 2019 RMC Clubsport season here in Kerpen. Bennett Müller takes second place, and even though Jan Seymour took third on the road, he will be demoted through the 10-second incorrect starting position penalty. It means that Jonas Volscheid will be in third place at the end of the season. There are battles still happening all the way through to the checkered flag, as it should be customary in racing. Karl Lukaszewski will end up in fourth place ahead of Leonard Poss in the 4:41, with Andreas Schindler ending the season off strongly with a class win, and he will get P6 once the penalties have been applied. Or might he? He will do, because effectively Jan Seymour will be demoted all the way down to what is effectively 8th position once the timing has been applied. But Florian Breitenbach, provisionally speaking, wins the final race of the 2019 season in DD2 and DD2 Masters, and also the closing race of the 2019 calendar. He finishes 3.65 seconds ahead of Bennett Müller, with Jan Seymour provisionally will be third, but he will be dropped down to the bottom part of the top 10 ahead of Jonas Volscheid. Karl Lukaszewski, Leonard Poss, Andreas Schindler wins in DD2 Masters, Nico Knad, and the penalty has been applied. Jan Seymour does now finish in 8th place as a result of that, with Kai Honne and Maximilian Dombos finishing, rounding out the top 10. Jan Müller in 11th ahead of Stefan Grabau, with Frankenbusch, Citignola, Schalau, Bob, Donsel, Berger, Wolfgang being the last of the 19 strong drivers that finish, with Pippa Hartl not even starting the race. Schumacher out on lap 1, with Bartels, Haas, Seyfried and Oliver Breitenbach retiring from the race. Live und direkt bei YouTube. Danke, vielen Dank für Zuschauen heute bei der RMC Clubsportfinale hier in Kerpen. Mein Name ist Alex Goldschmidt. Ich bin sehr zufrieden deine Sprecher heute zu sein. Ich möchte alle bedanken hier, Camp Company GmbH für die ganze tolles Livestream und MW Race Consulting für unser Live-Timing, die ganze Team bei den Marshalls und mit seinem Chef Camilo Hossinger und auch alle Teams, alle Fahrer, alle Zuschauer. Wir danken Ihnen für die Unterstützung dieses Jahr und wir freuen uns wieder in 2020 wieder live direkt an der Strecke auf YouTube. So, hier in Kerpen von mir, Alex Goldschmidt, das ganze Team hier in Kerpen. Schönes Abend und bis zum nächsten Mal.